Ukraine has struck back. Just hours after Russia unleashed one of its widest missile barrages in recent weeks, killing civilians across Ukraine, Kyiv launched another wave of long-range drone attacks deep inside Russian territory. Among the biggest targets, Wildberries, Russia's largest online retailer. A warehouse in the western Russian city of Penza burst into flames after a Ukrainian drone strike, while another Wildberries logistics facility in Russia's Udmurtia region also caught fire. The latest attacks highlight Ukraine's growing strategy of targeting Russia's logistics and supply networks, even as Moscow continues its deadly missile campaign against Ukrainian cities. Ukraine's latest drone offensive came only hours after Russia carried out a massive overnight missile attack across Ukraine. According to Russian regional authorities, a Wildberries warehouse in Penza was hit by drones, triggering a major fire. Around 200 people were evacuated from the facility. One person was reported injured. Soon afterwards, Wildberries confirmed that another one of its logistics facilities in Sarapul, located in Russia's Udmurtia region, had also caught fire following another drone attack. The company says it has once again been forced to redirect supply chains as operations at multiple warehouses remain disrupted. The latest strikes add to mounting pressure on Russia's domestic logistics network. Over recent weeks, Ukrainian drones have repeatedly targeted Wildberries facilities across Russia. According to company estimates and local officials, nearly a dozen warehouses have been damaged, destroying roughly 10% of the retailer's storage capacity. The attacks have affected tens of thousands of small businesses that depend on Wildberries to sell goods across Russia. Russia's largest lender, Sberbank, has even warned that continuing attacks on the retailer could increase financial risks for businesses and suppliers across the country. Beyond disrupting e-commerce, analysts say Ukraine is trying to strain Russia's internal supply chains and deepen the country's growing fuel and logistics crisis. The Ukrainian drone attacks came after Russia launched a devastating wave of missile strikes across Ukraine. At least 8 people were killed in attacks, stretching from the capital Kyiv to the western city of Lviv. Air raid sirens sounded across much of the country as ballistic missiles and drones targeted multiple regions simultaneously. In Kyiv, 1 person was killed and 2 others were injured after explosions triggered fires at several non-residential sites. The worst casualties were reported in the central Dnipropetrovsk region. In President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's hometown of Kryvyi Rih, 6 people lost their lives. Among the victims were 2 young girls, aged just 5 and 12. According to local officials, a Russian Iskander-M ballistic missile slammed directly into the home of a large family. Emergency workers continued searching through the rubble as authorities warned that the death toll could still rise. Officials say the missile was launched from Russia's Voronezh region. The Russian missile barrage extended all the way to western Ukraine. In the city of Lviv, missiles damaged apartment buildings and trapped residents beneath collapsed structures. At least 26 people were reported injured. Rescue workers spent hours removing debris in search of survivors. The attacks came only days after President Volodymyr Zelenskyy warned that Russia was preparing another large-scale assault. Following his recent visit to the United States, Zelenskyy said President Donald Trump had agreed to provide Ukraine with licenses related to Patriot missile systems, strengthening Kyiv's future air defense capabilities. The Ukrainian president has repeatedly argued that additional Western air defense systems remain essential to protect civilians from Russia's expanding missile campaign. The scale of the Russian assault also prompted a response beyond Ukraine's borders. Neighboring Poland scrambled fighter jets and activated air defense systems to secure NATO airspace. Poland's armed forces said the move was purely precautionary, as Russian missiles approached areas close to the alliance's eastern frontier. Meanwhile, police in Poland's Lublin region reported discovering a crater and scattered debris from an unidentified object that landed in a field near the Ukrainian border. Authorities have launched an investigation into the incident. Russia's defense ministry said its forces targeted what it described as Ukrainian military infrastructure, stretching from Kyiv to Lviv and Dnipropetrovsk. Moscow also claimed to have struck 3 cargo ships and intercepted 258 Ukrainian drones overnight, including over occupied territories. Both Moscow and Kyiv continue to deny deliberately targeting civilians, despite repeated attacks causing casualties on both sides. But the latest exchange underlines how the war is evolving. While Russia continues relying on large-scale missile barrages against Ukrainian cities, Ukraine is increasingly taking the battle deep inside Russia by targeting logistics hubs, warehouses, fuel depots, and industrial infrastructure. The objective appears clear: to increase the economic cost of the war and disrupt Russia's ability to sustain military operations. With Russia intensifying missile strikes and Ukraine expanding its long-range drone campaign, the conflict is entering an even more dangerous phase, as civilian casualties continue to mount and critical infrastructure becomes a key battlefield. Both sides appear determined to raise the pressure rather than seek compromise. For now, the cycle of missile strikes and drone attacks shows little sign of slowing, keeping the region on edge as the war grinds into another brutal chapter.